And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Writers Workshop, which is a monthly book club where we talk about different types of writing books, whether it's for to better our lives, to better our productivity, or like today, it's to better our marketing. So, my name is Tamara Woods, and I'm the host, and I'm a cozy mystery author. Would y'all like to introduce yourselves, starting with Carol and work your way back to me?
Yeah, hi, my name is Carrie Brown. I'm an urban fantasy author. The book's on the wall over there. And normally this would be like what I'm working on today, but I also read this book and I finished it, I think actually right before we were supposed to have this workshop last week.
Gotta love it. And
Mhm.
CJ?
My name is CJ. I am a writer of things, and yeah, I finished the book. What time is it? 15 minutes ago.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Of course, I thought I had finished it last week, and then I realized that I had not, so I finished it today. And what book, you may ask? It's Lisa Daly's book, Become a Famous Romance Author, PR Secrets to Get Tons of Book Reviews and Free Romance Novel Publicity. And as you can see, it is on sale right now, so you should pick up a copy.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And thanks to everyone who's here. Let's say some quick hellos. Misty Kate, hello. RC, hi. Gruen, hello. Lisa Daly is in the comments. Lisa, let us know if you'd like to be on screen for the last half. So maybe if people have questions they'd like to ask you directly, you'll be able to answer them. Hello, Barrett. Sarah, hi. Excellent. So let's start with talking about how the book was kind of laid out. So the first chapter, Lisa tells us a lot about her background in public relations and in marketing, which I did not realize how extensive her experience is. Were y'all aware of that?
I was
I was a
not.
little bit aware of it because I talked to her. I nag her pretty consistently. But I also asked like clarifying questions. And so when I initially was actually getting my own publishing company set up, she was one of the people that I went and talked to. And I didn't know everything that she was talking about in these first two chapters about herself and her background. But when I had those initial conversations, I was like, oh man, she knows like way more than I do. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm just going to just take some notes. So
Notes are, I mean, that's what I do. So and then we go on where she was talking about different aspects of contacting publications, figuring out what publications you wanted to talk to, figuring out how to find reviewers, and looking at the market. Like a lot of a lot was covered in this small book. I took
Yeah.
a couple of public relations courses in college, and I feel like some of the things I was familiar with, but there was a lot that I was like, "What? That's such a good idea." So, and in each chapter, there's a tip for becoming a famous romance author. So, and these tips, I felt like this book could apply to anyone. You didn't have to be a romance
Yeah.
author in order to get something from it. So but romance, that's like her wheelhouse, so of course that's what she's going to address, what you know her people, so to speak. But so each chapter had some tips that you could take along the way, and then there was a lot of downloadables. Like, I feel like, especially if you're just going to pay the dollar, I feel
Yeah.
like the resources that are available are worth it, if nothing else. So, but how did you guys like the layout? Did you find it easy to read? Did you like the tips that she was giving?
I'll let CJ go first.
I was gonna say, I actually told my sister as I was reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, I can hear Lisa's voice saying all of these things. Like, it was a really light read. I didn't feel like it got bogged down in details. that were unnecessary. I also liked the get famous tips. Also, and I don't know that she did this in every chapter, but in a lot of the chapters, there were goals at the beginning, which I liked because it gave me a better idea. Like, I have almost no background in PR or anything like that. Like, it's very minimal. And so having those goals gave me some hooks to hang the information on that were more consistent. And yes, I'm absolutely, the resources at the end, I bookmarked it, I highlighted it, like that's going in my resources page or section or whatever, for moving forward. And it was funny.
Like, it was funny.
It was the sarcasm and hyperbole. And I know she talks about this in her, like, that is like, romance is her wheelhouse, but so is hyperbole and snarky and like that kind of thing. That's just Lisa. And so that really came through. And so it made it a much more enjoyable read for like a craft book, something that may not seem to be terribly fun, made it more fun to read.
Yeah, I agree that Lisa's voice in there was really strong, and and I guess I'm a little biased because we speak so often to Lisa that when I was reading the book, it was just really easy to have her voice come in instead of Morgan Freeman, like I usually read books in. Right? I really did, because we asked about the structure of the book. I really do like how it kind of started with like, this is the big picture, and like this is how we kind of break it down into smaller chunks on how to get there and what it looks like. I absolutely agree that it can be applied actually to more than just romance, because there were some parts where I was reading this and I was like, I should probably tell my boss over at work about doing these things so that way we can like increase our reach and things like that. But he's not ready for all of this. Like, he's really not.
Baby steps, right?
Yeah, baby steps.
And Barrett agrees. I think it's very versatile. I don't write romance, but think there are lots of nuggets of wisdom. And Barrett writes middle grade, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Hi, JC. Thank you for joining us.
There was what I found, and check me if you guys didn't get this impression either, but one of the things I thought was really interesting is that when you're doing, because there's a part of the book where we're talking about reach out and sending the pitches and stuff like that, and it was like, when you send the pitches, make sure that you're doing all these things, and all those things that we do to make sure that we're pitching our book to the right person is also the exact same stuff that we do when we're trying to pitch it to like publishers and agents and all of that. So I was just kind of, I mean, it's just really good information to know. I did have a good laugh, though, because there was a section where she had pictures of people that were like posting stuff on Twitter about how they would get pitches, but then when they would still have like book title or something like that. And I laughed because the side work that I do with the influencer, I get to scan all those emails, and they've got like brackets or the all thing. And I always just delete them. He doesn't even see them.
Well, of course, because if you can't be bothered to make sure you're addressing it to a person,
right?
Like, come on. Or you have the title of whatever you're trying to pitch.
Right.
That's a very embarrassing mistake to make. Especially if you are kind of sending these out in batches.
Yeah.
So
because then
now
you've got that mistake in every single one.
That was another thing that I thought was interesting. Because I didn't realize that you could kind of have an email platform, so to speak, where you would be able to create different, I guess, for lack of a better word, because I can't think right now, of create different like sections or folders where, okay, so this is the folder where they're like local publications, and this is for the social media influencers who might be interested, and like using a specific type of email provider other than like Gmail. What?
I yawned.
Carrow yawned and it caught me. Sorry. I actually did know that. I use MailChimp for my, so I'm a piano teacher, and I use MailChimp to communicate with my parent, like not just my parent, like my students' parents, but also with people who are no longer, like I have people on my mailing list who are no longer have students in my studio, but they still want to get information. They still want to receive, like when we're having our recital, if something new comes up, they want to know those kinds of things. And so I actually have them in a separate list. So when I send information out to all of my students' parents, they're in one list. And then I have another list when it's like supporters are no longer studio parents, but or grandparents or whatever. So and that's like, so I did know that was there, and that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about doing that for writing, using that mail platform for PR for writing. I don't know why I didn't think about that, because I think we probably talked about it before, but when I read that, I was like, oh, this is brand new information. How is this brand new? It doesn't seem like it should be.
I can't tell if Tamara's muted or not.
Yeah, I was muted.
Okay.
The thing did a thing. Anyway, but yeah, I hadn't thought about that at all. So that was like brand new information for me. And I thought it was very helpful. Were you clued in on that, Carol, already, or?
I knew about it only because I think it was like a year and a half ago. Lisa had a newsletter special on one of her Wednesdays, and she had actually made her own slide where she talked about like segmenting your email list like that. And I remember like acknowledging it, but then like in my brain, I was kind of like, I don't really know how I could apply that to, what I'm doing right now. So I haven't really implemented it, but I was aware of it at that point. But again, that came from Lisa. So.
Right.
Great.
I like the examples that she gave as well, because I'm a person that I learn best when I have examples that I can pull from. So I found this to be very helpful. And she gave examples of like her own pitches and her own like letters that she sent out. So that was cool because as she told us, she has done this a lot and many times, and she's been fairly successful with it. So it's nice to see like an example that has probably brought her success, right?
Yeah, I like those examples because like in other marketing books, they kind of gave you like an idea of what to do, but they didn't relate it to a book that was kind of already out that you could reference it to. So what I really liked is that she used her own books, and that you can kind of see how she was like adjusting it for different people that she was pitching to, or the purpose of where she was pitching and things like that. I thought that was really useful.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it was really nice to have a book that was written by someone who has been there, done that, and knows what they're talking about. Because I feel like, anyone can write one of these books, right? Anyone could write a marketing book or whatever, but they're not necessarily knowledgeable outside of having done research. And like, if you're telling me things that are actionable, I want to know that you have done this before and that you've figured out a path, and that's where you're taking me. Because I do research too. So I've probably read the stuff that you're drawing from, but I felt like with this book, there was a lot of things that I didn't know, which was like exciting. Like, yeah, maybe I can become famous. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah, I know in chapter 6 where we were talking about 3 things you absolutely need to get published, right? And we started talking about the places that you could get like the lists from, right?
Yes.
I never knew you could get that stuff from Fiverr. I was like, hold the phone. Because I won't lie, I'm on Fiverr a lot for like little tiny things that I need that I'm just like, I have enough money to delegate it, so I'm going to delegate it, right? And so when I found that you could do that, I was kind of like, I kind of want to go on there and do that right now, but I didn't. And I kind of regret not doing it, because then at least I could have shared like my first impressions of that. Screw it.
Right?
I'm gonna do it now.
But you can always do it later and then tell us afterwards.
Oh, look, Lisa got a sale from Misty Kate. That's fantastic.
Hey.
Woohoo!
I thought it was interesting when she was talking about 5-star reviews versus 1-star versus 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
In that, okay, so one aspect of that was like reaching out to reviewers, like people that you've asked to review, or they've actually done the review, regardless of whether they gave you a 5-star or a 1-star, just thanking them for taking the time to read and review. And I thought, wow, that's actually smart, simple manners.
I wanted to ask about that because like at least your guys' opinion, because like I was always told like don't engage with your reviewers because no matter what you do, like blah blah blah. And I like the idea of like thanking them and doing thank you notes, but like would that cross into like don't talk to your book reviewers territory?
I think that if I were going to be contacting them, it would be the ones that I contacted and had sent them the ARC, and then they did the thing.
Okay.
That was my impression, is that you're not thanking like a random reviewer. You're thanking somebody that you sent an ARC to, you reached out, and that would be considered follow-up rather than, and she's pretty adamant about how follow-up is the key. Like that's the difference between getting maybe 1 or 2 hits and connections and getting a traction. And this is, for me, this is the other half of it. And she says this several times, is the most important part is developing relationships. I think so often we think about marketing or PR as like trying to sell yourself to strangers. But in some ways, it's as much about maybe making friends is a little too like, I don't know, maybe that's a little too far, but like making connections, professional connections with people, that networking but relationships really become an essential key to publishing. And she says, and I'm trying to think of where it was in the book, but she talks about how a review does better than an ad because it has a personal touch.
Right.
People respond to the personal, even if they don't know the person, they don't know the reviewer personally, but it's somebody that they like, it's a blogger that they read regularly or an Instagrammer that they follow or whatever. They've got a pseudo relationship with that person. And what you want to do is build a relationship with that person as well, so that there's a connection there. Like you've got this train of relationships that can be developed over time.
And we can find that within like our own buying styles, right? Like when I'm looking for a new hair product, I don't go looking for ads. I look for YouTube reviews to see like people using it and talking about it and what their thoughts on. And I don't necessarily need to know this person or have watched them before. I just want to know on a personal level, how did this work for you? And book reviews are on a personal level. How did the book work for you? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What were the goods? What was the bad? What was the ugly? And, and most of the time book reviewers are doing it because for the love of books, not for the love of like money. Whereas an ad is, it's money based.
It's gotta be out there.
Very much about it. Yeah.
Well, Lisa agreed with something that someone said. Yeah.
It's about making relationships. That's roughly when I saw it pop up. So.
But I also love that because, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love that because, and this is going to get really philosophically deep, but I think sometimes we as
take us there.
I think sometimes we as writers, because we are trying to sell our product, we can get caught up in the idea of selling to an audience as an impersonal, just buy my product kind of thing. And I think one of the great strengths of what Lisa does, and this is, I've seen her do this on this panel before. I've seen her do it in some of her other, when she's streaming with you, Carrow, like I've seen her do this well, is investing in people and investing in a community, whether it's a community of professionals or a community of artists or a community of whatever, strengthens everybody in the community. And so if your goal is to become part of that community, that building of relationships raises your ability to be successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which is kind of fun because now we can kind of loosely tie that into a bunch of psychology elements, but I'm just going to keep it in one particular one because in leadership, industry, organizational psychology, that's referred to as the humanitarian leadership approach, which is basically if you want everything to work out well, you have to invest in your people, because if your people invested, then your business would hopefully go really well, which is technically kind of why part of like a lot of the stuff that's been going on for like the last 8 months has happened, because people feel like their gears in a machine. They don't actually feel like they're valuable, XYZ of whatever it is that's going on. So,
right.
Invest. Yeah. So, Lisa, and you're absolutely hitting it on the head of the nail here. That investing in people, it has like a great ripple effect, and it like making them feel valued and that you care about them and what they have to say, even if you don't like it, like that goes leaps and bounds versus just kind of like, putting like a piece of paper in front of their face, like buy my book, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. I do get a little intimidated by the book, and like the book has amazing information and everything else. And the reason I get intimidated is because I'm a massive introvert. So this much reaching out and talking and everything else, like at one point, like I put the book down, I was sitting in the living room and my husband asked me if I was okay. And I was like, I was literally just trying to picture myself doing like 5% of what it is that Lisa does in this book. And it was just so overwhelming for me. So I would have to break that down into like little tiny baby introvert steps.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Lisa, why don't you join us and we can talk to you about how can an introvert do some
How
of
can a
these
Carrow
things?
do this?
How can a Carrow do this? And hi, Dal. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a great day. But yeah, so while we're waiting for Lisa to join us, let's see. So I thought it was interesting that she mentioned like kind of using Goodreads as a way to find reviewers who are interested in your work, and then like looking for your 4 or 5-star reviews and then like following them.
Yeah.
That had never occurred to me. Like that had never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that was earlier. I was like, am I allowed to do that? Like, can I do that?
Is that even in line with the rules?
It's the lady
of
the hour.
Was thinking about it in terms of using.
Hi. So yeah, you're totally allowed to do that. These are people who, it's like basically you're, sort of shooting fish in the barrel, right? You're just reaching out to people who already like you to let them know, you, and also to say, hey, I've got a new book coming out pretty soon, and they're usually excited to hear from you. So that's a good thing. I mean, you don't want to. Again, I think you guys really hit it when you were talking about how it's all about building relationships and connecting with people. And so I think I was like blushing through the whole thing. I have to say that. And also, I was trying to figure out if I could do a Morgan Freeman voice. because of what, because of what Carol said. Sadly, I cannot. I did practice, but I cannot. But yeah, you got CJ totally got it. It's all about like forming connections with people and reaching out. So it feels very extroverted, but there are ways that you can do it that are introverted as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So one of the things is just how you frame it to yourself, right? So one of the things that I talk about is that after you do an outreach, like follow-up is a really big deal. And if you have a phone number, you can just get on the phone and call because it is a good way to kind of get to people. However, if you are an introvert and that makes you like terrified. Also, I'm sorry, did you get a haircut? Because it's super cute.
I did. I cut it myself yesterday.
I love it. And at first I thought you just had it like in one of those kind of under ponytails, but now I see it's a full bob. I'm sorry, I just had to take a moment there. It's cute. It looks super cute. I really love it.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay.
I was gonna pay somebody to do it, but when I walked in, I asked her how long the wait was, and she said 2 hours because they had 2 people in front of me and they wanted to have lunch. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go spend $6 on some shears next door, and I'm gonna go home.
Well, I think you did a lovely job, and I really like it. Like it's really cute. Okay, sorry, I did not mean to sidetrack the conversation. So one of the things that you can do by Carrow's haircut, and it's adorable. So one of the things that you can do as an introvert is instead of doing phone calls, which I know like gives everybody a heart attack, right, for introverts, instead of that, you can just stick to email or reaching out on LinkedIn. And in particular, email is really good because then you can email 1,000 people, but pretend to yourself like you're just emailing one. And let MailerLite do all the magic of personalizing it for everybody. So I just send one email that says, "Hi, name. I just wanted to follow up with you to see if you were interested in da-da-da-da." But I'm actually saying, "Hi, Tamara. Hi, Carrow. Hi, CJ." And so it's personalized for them, but it's less stressful for you.
So Dal says, I feel that if I reach out at the wrong time, I'm bothering the person. That's why I never message anyone.
So a lot of people feel like that with the press,
Yes.
but just one of the things, right? But one of the things that I talk about a little bit in the book, and I probably don't go into it enough, is that it's part of their job to receive pitches. So it's part of their job to receive pitches. So I'll give you a good example. I'm writing a roundup of Valentine's Day. Ooh, here's a good opportunity here's a good PR opportunity for everybody. I'm writing a Valentine's Day roundup for BookTrib, which is a fairly large book review site. And so right now, what I'm looking for are great romances of all types for all different types of people to feature for a little Valentine's Day listicle. So feel free to reach out to me on Facebook because I need to come up with those 7 or 10 titles, right? Wouldn't it be so much easier if they were hand delivered to me right this moment? Why, yes, it would. So yeah, so you're not bothering them. I mean, sometimes you're bothering them. And sometimes as a member of the press, you get sort of overwhelmed with the constant onslaught, especially being on national television. Like there were days where I got like 100 pitches and that was a lot. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you really do want to reach out. And the other thing, Dal, that is something that's really helpful is that sites like Help a Reporter Out, which is one of the resources that I mentioned in the book, also known as Harrow, those are reporters who are specifically looking for sources right then. Like that day, I need somebody to tell me about whatever, how to start a warehouse business, what it's like to be a writer if you're blind, what about this, and all day, every day, there's a whole list of different opportunities, frequently, like 4 times. I hear from you, they want to hear from you like within the hour. I hope that helps.
All I heard
sometimes
was within an hour.
Yeah. Oh no, did I freeze?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I had such a good speech, you guys. Okay. Crap. Okay, so here's what I said. So one of the sources. what? Can you hear me now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the resources that I mentioned in the book is something called Harrow, Help a Reporter Out. Right. And so Help a Reporter Out is where you go if you're a journalist or a blogger or whatever, which I guess a blogger is a journalist, type of journalist. If you're a reporter on deadline and you need an expert on something or someone to comment on something, you will put out a little alert on Harrow, and it goes out to all these people. And depending what it is that you've said you can talk about, like if you just want featured stuff, which tends to be, sort of lifestyle books, entertainment activities, things like that. If you say, yes, please send me all the features leads, then every day, 4 times a day or once a day, you'll get this email from Harrow that says, these reporters are looking for people to talk about these very specific things. And so if you can answer the question about why don't men like to empty the dishwasher, or how much money does it take to start a warehouse business, or what are reasons that people get together besides, sex, like whatever it is, there are a million queries about it all day long. And those reporters not only want to hear from you, they want to hear from you. Here it comes, within the hour. And now we're back. Thanks for joining us today. Such a dork.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of Harrow until I read it in there, and I was like, that's so freaking fascinating. Like, I was gonna poke you later about how to get access to that, because I was just so nosy. I was like, I want to know everything about this, and I felt like you could have probably written a whole chapter just on that alone.
On how to answer Harrow queries. In the beginning, so there was a precursor to Harrow, and that was a site called PR Leads, which at the time I think was right. So PR Leads was, I want to say, when I was one of the earliest clients of PR Leads. I actually, I could call Dan Janelle, the owner, right now and go, hey, it's Lisa Daly, because I was a client of his for such a long time. And I think when I started, it was $49 or $59 a month. And I think now it's $99 a month. And I don't do it anymore. But at the beginning, it was a good way to get the ball rolling as far as putting yourself out there as a source. And for me, because my first book was a dating advice book, there are always plenty of relationship romance kind of queries, which again, if you're a romance author, relationship queries are your cup of tea right there. And so that gave me some early wins. And then Harrow came along a couple years later, and they did that same thing for free. And so the Harrow list grew by leaps and bounds. And then eventually Cision bought it. And Cision is they own sort of the biggest professional media database. It's crazy expensive to subscribe to Cision. But if you have your own list, you don't have to. So, but it is not, it's still free to subscribe to Harrow. I did go on a little tangent with Cision there. It's still free to subscribe to Harrow. And you, like I said, you get these email, and I think it's just HARO.com. If not, you can type in Help a Reporter Out and you'll get to it. Let's all take a moment and do that right now. So yeah, you just sign up for the emails, and then they come back and you put your little profile up there, and then respond to any queries that you think you can answer, and you'll be shocked.
Yeah, no, I was super nosy about that, because I was
HARO, Help a Reporter Out.
Mm-hmm.
I love that everybody's doing it right now.
You told us to. You're
I love it. I know it. I know that you did it. I love it that you totally did it. It's great. It's a great opportunity. Hold on, I'm going to find it right now.
Helpareporter.com.
Yeah, because
is it?
Yeah, because Harrow.com is something
It's
entirely
the first
different.
link.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay, hold on.
The first one that comes up is Help a Reporter Out USA, and that's harrowhelpers.com. But that's an ad.
No, that's not it. I think the correct, hold on. Help a Reporter Out. They have social media. Here we go.
So
they've got a Twitter.
Is this it?
The fourth.
Yeah, helpareporter.com. Here, I'm going to drop it.
We found it.
Okay, good.
So it'd be I'm a source, I'm a journalist.
Wow.
Carrow connects journalists seeking expertise to include in their content with sources who have that expertise.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. And like I said, it's just a little email.
Thank you for taking the time to answer that nosy question for me. I just want to know.
No, I'm very glad that you want to know.
Right?
I'm very glad. Yes, yeah. I'm very excited. I'm very excited that you guys got so much out of it. That made me very happy, I'll say.
I also deeply appreciate the entire chapter that you dedicated to how to look like professional in your interview. Right down to like makeup tips and color choices and everything else. I was kind of like, oh man, like I would have just shown up in a black shirt with my pale skin and dark hair and just coming off like a freaking vampire.
You have the exact coloring to be a vampire. Now, Tamara can roll out of bed in her jammies and look like a supermodel, but it's true.
I need color.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And for me, like my eyebrows like totally disappear on television. I have to like, that. So
I related
it again.
I related to the makeup tips because there's God, or don't jerk back too much, Tamara, but when we did the Evergreen writing retreat stuff, there was one time when no PTSD, stop it. But there was one time she and I were getting ready for a panel. We were both putting our makeup on. I was like, I look like a freaking clown in this mirror, but like on the camera, I look like absolutely fabulous, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, that's up. And the TV lights wash you out so much more. I mean, that's a little bit true on YouTube, but on a television show, you will like completely wash out. It's crazy. I always wonder, I know there's that movie like, there's a movie about Tammy Faye Baker. And for any of you who are old enough to remember who Tammy Faye Baker was, she was like a television pastor's wife, televangelist pastor's wife. And that woman was famous for like having 17 inches of makeup on and crazy eyelashes. And I like now that I've done television for 100 years, I wonder how in God's name did they get her face to support that much makeup? Because you have to wear a ton just to look like a normal person. So how much would you have to wear in order to look like Tammy Faye Baker?
Oh, that blue eyeshadow.
Oh my God.
That was my favorite part.
It went all the way up to her eyebrows, and it was stunning. It
really was. It really was. The lady did no branding, though. Here we are talking about her 100 years later. So,
that's
right?
True.
100 years later.
Feels like it.
It does. Y'all wanted to know what makeup is. Honey, you're just.
I want you to know she was an integral part of my childhood.
Yes.
And yeah.
That's crazy. Icon. Oh, that's amazing. So Dolls has crazy natural crazy eyelashes. That's like the only good thing on my face. You have plenty of good things on your face, but good eyelashes are awesome. You've won half the battle if you have good eyelashes.
I do not.
If you don't, you can paste them on like the rest of us do.
Mm-hmm. And hope that they do not fall off.
Your own eyelashes, your body's fine.
That's right. It totally is. It looks totally fine. Yeah, it's funny. I know I always think about this. This is like one tutorial I always thought I would do on YouTube, and I never have, because I used to not go on with eyelashes. And then I met this woman in a green room. Her name is Rachel Weingarten, and she's like this big celebrity makeup artist. And she wrote a really fun book called Hello Beautiful. And we were on tour at the same time a million years ago. And she said, you need to wear false eyelashes on TV. And I was like, and you need to fill in your eyebrows. And I said like, oh, I can't do false eyelashes. Like I always get it wrong. And she just looks at me and goes, any idiot can put on false eyelashes. And that was it. And I was like, okay, so I will. And so she showed me what to do. And you basically put a drop of.
Oh no.
And then you drag a band of the eyelash full. Am I frozen again?
Yeah.
Good now.
You were Skynet.
Better.
I passed it off. I'm so sorry.
I don't know what's happening with me today. So you put a little glue on your finger, you drag the band of the eyelash glue or the band of the eyelash through the glue, and then you don't do anything with it. You just leave it sit for like 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds. And that makes the glue dry just enough for it to be tacky, so you don't get like glue all over your eyelashes and stick your eyeballs together. It just sticks right on. You can adjust it. You can pull them off. It works like a charm. So that was it. Any idiot can put on false eyelashes. Wisdom from Rachel Weingarten. And it's true. I can do it.
Or you can have someone microblade your eyebrows and dye the cuts.
Yes, you could do that.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have eyebrows. These are fake.
Well, yeah, I have thyroid disease. I have to give mine a little help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a question because I was just thinking about it since we were talking about being on the news and book tours and stuff like that. And I typically run into like authors who are like, I've been working on my book for 10 years. And one of the things that you talk about in here is that when you pitch your book, you have to pitch it towards like current things or angles that are going on right now. So I was kind of like, from your professional take, like the folks that have been doing this for like working on their book for 10 years, like how do we help them, I guess?
So that's one angle that you can take, is a current events kind of angle. There are other angles too. Some things are sort of evergreen and timeless. Like we're always going to talk about love around Valentine's Day. We're always going to talk about sort of patriotism around the 4th of July or Veterans Day. We're always going to talk about, if there's a school shooting, you could have written a book about that 10 years ago. Actually, this is one of the things I say, you never want to piggyback on a tragedy. So don't talk about that. But there are always events that there's nothing new in the universe, as I guess what I'm trying to say. All those themes come back around.
Mm-hmm.
And you can almost always tie what you're doing into something that is current, that matters to people today. You can't talk about something that only mattered to people 10 years ago. You could talk about nostalgia, like we're talking about Tammy Faye Baker and her makeup tips, but you can't talk about her unless we have a good reason to talk about her. And so that's what you want to do with your pitch. You want to give people a reason to be interested in it right now, not people from 1994, but people from today. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah.
Cool. And anyone who's watching, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. I'm sure Lisa is more than up to answering them.
I am. I love it. I have to say, I was very excited. I was also really thrilled to hear what you guys had to say about the book, not just because it was all really nice, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. But also the things you got out of it were really the things that I wanted you guys to get out, not just you guys, every reader that read it, the things that I wanted you to get out of it, that it's not something that you have to pay for, that you can do it yourself, and that there are all these tools to make it a lot easier than you might think. So thanks.
Oh yeah, no, this was probably the one book that, because we've done a couple of these, and normally I just kind of read it. I'm like, yeah, around this chapter I had this thought. Your book I had to like get on the Kindle computer, I had to highlight, and then I had to like type notes onto it, or I had to relate it to something else, because I was like, no, I can't just read it. I have to like actively like engage with the Kindle right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are all my notes.
What?
All my notes.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Stop myself. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so one question: how much is too much social media before a book launch?
Oh, that's a hard question and an easy question. So here's why. Because we always feel like we don't want to do too much promotion. And I will say, I am not a social media expert. However, the average number of times a person needs to see your book before they hit the buy button is 7. So maybe they see it over on Goodreads. Maybe they see it on a blog they like. Maybe they see their favorite bookstagrammer, and you only have to mention it twice. But given the algorithms and the fact that we don't see that many things at any given time, especially if you have a link in your tweet or a link in your Facebook post, a lot to you 15 times in the course of 3 weeks, but to the people who are seeing it, it probably does not feel like all the times it doesn't feel like as much as it feels like to you. Does that make sense? And you want to break it up, like social media, you don't want to do like on Instagram, right? So I've started, you can see I've started the social media promotion for 15 Minutes of Shame, which is actually my first novel, and I'm relaunching it because I just got the rights back from Penguin, so it's coming out on the 22nd. So I've just now started social media-ing it and posting about it, but also I'm posting a lot of other things too, and I'll do that pretty heavily for about 3 weeks, and then you'll just sort of see it sporadically. So that is the answer. Now on Goodreads, I would be all over that all the time. All over Goodreads.
There is no too much.
With Goodreads, how do you utilize that as an author and not like be intruding in like, reader space?
Well, I will give you a good example of that. So I'm working with an author named David Putnam, who I love, and I actually used to work with him when I was director of PR at his publisher. And he has a book coming out, coincidentally, on the same day. But we are working on getting more people for his mailing list. And so one of the things that we're doing is giving away the very first book in the series. And so what we're doing on Goodreads is, bless you, they're reaching out and they're doing this. He's very active on Goodreads. He reviews a lot of books. He's a great guy. He's actually one of the top reviewers on Goodreads because he's reading like 2 books a day. It's crazy. Anyway, so David has reached out to all these people that have given his other 8 or 9 books in this series 5 stars and said, hey, I know you really enjoyed, The Sinister. Well, actually, The Sinister is the new one. I know you really enjoyed The Replacements, and I'd love to send you a free copy of the first book in the Bruto series, The Disposables. And so people are like, yes, I want to read the first book in the series of this book series that I already liked. So for you, Tamara, because you write in a series, I would, for the people who gave you good reviews for the first book, I would say, hey, I know you really like the first book. I don't know if you knew this, but I have the second book coming out soon. The other thing is that for anybody who follows your stuff, and you want to make sure that you're friending people on Goodreads, not following them. I could go on about this all day. Because anytime you put up a post on Goodreads, all of your friends get a notification. Yeah.
You see how we're all taking notes right now?
I know. So all of your friends get a notification. Your followers do not. You'd think it would be the opposite, but it's not. And Goodreads has a blog function for authors that is sort of hard to find, but it's very useful because the more friends you have on Goodreads, the bigger the reach of your blog. And so like one of the things I'll do is, because this has been such an awesome show today, I will post this over on my Goodreads blog, and all of my 4,200 friends on Goodreads will see this because it will show up in their feeds. And you can do that with stuff about your book too. And you can get, the one thing I will say that's a downside, even though Amazon owns Goodreads, and you'd think that they'd get the web stuff right, they have a deal where you can basically do like the RSS feed from your blog so that it will automatically post on Goodreads, but it ends up just a wonky mess. So just post it right there on the platform.
Okay. So let's move on to another question from Dal. The problem I have when I pitch anything is that I'm not a dramatic writer. I just make sure to share the information. That's it. How to make it better?
Well, okay, so that's a good, at first when you said like I'm not a dramatic writer, I was thinking you meant like in your fiction, but that's not what you meant. You meant like you're not particularly hyperbolic like me. So one, that's a skill you can develop a little bit, at least for pitching, because that's the kind of thing that gets attention. But the other thing is when you're looking at something like Carrow, they don't really want someone who's dramatic. They want someone who can give them a short, pithy, interesting quote. And so it doesn't have to be dramatic. They want to be able to just take that couple of sentences and drop it right into their article, their blog, their whatever. And then they'll link back to your book. Yay.
Okay, so next
Does that help?
question. How much
much
is
is
too
too-
little social?
So I know that people do, some people do a lot, some people do a little. I do a little because I'm not super active. Like, I love my Instagram, so I always do a little nice stuff over that, some nice stuff over there. I post like now because of Sako. She told us all about a site called If This Then That. It's like ITTT. And it has little bots that will cross post. Like if I put my post up on Instagram, it'll be nice and post it over on Twitter for me. But I'm not super active over on Twitter. Or on Facebook. I follow Becca Syme's prescription of outposting social media, where you're just active really on one, and everybody else, we go, okay, I'm active over on Insta, or I'm active on Facebook, or I'm active on Twitter. So the question, how much is too little social media before a book launch? It depends on how active your following is. If you have 17 followers, post a couple times. If you've got 17,000 followers, well, maybe you want your followers are more engaged, and you maybe want to, work with that more. But I think it's up to the individual person. You definitely want to use every tool at your disposal to promote your books. And one of the great things, if you do get, blog mentions or reviews, that's a really good thing to post on social media, because then it doesn't feel like you're going, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. You are posting about somebody else talking about your book. Like, oh my gosh, look at this amazing review. Thanks so much. Like that. Like I'm going to do with this video all over today.
Hooray!
Yay!
Oh my God, thanks so much.
Let me see. Let me see if I have a quick example of where I was like, oh, look, there's a review and it was good of this book. Hooray. All right.
Oh, this is such a good point from M.M. Ward about excerpts.
Mm.
Let me share this real quick, and then
I see those happen a lot. Like it's just kind of like, something that kind of adds like a little bit of like intrigue to the.
Yeah. Hi.
Well, all right. So that's a bliss. But,
I love a little honey first thing in the afternoon. Okay, here we go. Bliss Winters.
So, like, this was a review that someone gave me that was 5 stars.
Love
and
it.
I made it like look Twitter pretty so that people would look at it. And then I could share it without me being like, hey, you guys, want to buy a book?
Yeah, that's exactly it. What you just done there with the 5 stars, what someone, the book club news, what they said about your book, that is social proof that people who aren't you love your book. And that is far stronger than you saying, people love my book, please buy it. They're doing all the hard work for you. So I think this is actually really, really wonderful. And you should definitely keep that up. Because the other thing is, you're not really paying attention as the person on Twitter who sees this. I'm not really thinking like, where did this come from? I'm just reading the information that you're posting.
Right.
Go ahead and close that. And there's your butt for the day. So how do you feel about putting excerpts from the book out? And what would you advise an author who overexposed her story and her launch fell flat? I had a friend who put out 90 excerpts, and then everyone felt like they'd already read her book.
Well,
wow,
so there's a key to excerpts, right? 90 excerpts, it would be the whole book. No. So I always like to do excerpts until the hook, like just enough to get them sucked into the story. Then you have that little jaw drop moment, and then that's all you get till you buy the book. That's all you get. And so with 15 Minutes of Shame, I actually did a longer excerpt than I normally would. But it was really successful in the book launch time, which actually I hadn't really thought about that, but I might employ that again for this launch. So I gave away like 5 chapters of the book, which seems like a lot, but they're pretty short chapters. And in those 5 chapters, you discover her like squatting behind the dumpster at the Gas and Go, spying on her husband. And then she's trying to figure out if he's cheating on her because he's supposed to be in Atlanta, but he's not. And it goes all the way through until a very big moment, the big moment in the book. And then that's where the excerpt ended. And if you got that far, if you were that invested, you were going to read the rest of the story. And so that was really successful. I would not do 90 excerpts. I might do one excerpt 90 times, but I would not do 90 excerpts. Excerpts can be really, if the writing is good, excerpts can be a great sales tool. But never the end. Oh my gosh, only the beginning. Only to the hook. Yeah. And there is something that's going on blah, 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 Instagram that I thought was really fun. And that is First Kiss Fridays. So for those of you who write romance, just post a little couple paragraph excerpts about the first time your characters kiss. I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah.
That is very cute.
Yeah. And also you're like, then you get like an idea of kind of like, can this writer write the kissy scenes? Because sometimes they can't.
Let's see. Mm-hmm. So another question. How do you feel about having your blog on your Amazon page?
I am in favor of it. Now, I will tell you, do not connect your social media to your Amazon page. So don't, when you buy a book and they say, hey, tell all your friends on Twitter you just bought this book. Don't do it. It's a trap. And the reason for that is that if Amazon is connected to your Twitter or your other social media, then anybody that gets a link from there, if they're one of your friends, then Amazon assumes that when they write you a review, that they're not just following you, that you're close, and they won't post it. So you don't want to connect your social media to your Amazon, but there's no reason not to connect your blog. And it's one of those things that you just set it and forget it. And it's funny because I've had like complete strangers say things to me like, oh my God, I saw that you were on the daytime show, but you kind of wonder like, how would that, because I have, it's like since the pandemic, I stopped doing the show. And so then you're like, how did you figure that out? But it's because they'd seen it somewhere. They saw it on the blog on Amazon. They went to buy the book because they saw it somewhere else. Then they saw the blog. Then they got interested. Then they bought something else. So I'm in favor. If they're already there, they want to know more about you. The best thing you can do with a reader who's interested is get them more interested. But the other thing I would do, because that's basically an ad for you right there on the Amazon website, is that I would occasionally do a post about how they can get all kinds of free swag and goodies if they subscribe to your newsletter. Do a little QR code as the image so that they can get to that pretty easily.
Oh.
Make some notes. Yeah. If you guys want to make a QR code of your book, this is like my favorite. This is my favorite new tool. I'm using it constantly. Dave Chesson, who is the genius behind Kindlepreneur, has a QR code generator for authors. It's free to use, and you can put your little book cover in the middle of the QR code. What? It's so adorable.
Hold on, I think I did that. Hold on.
It's Kindlepreneur. Let me see if I can find Kindlepreneur. So here, I'll just hop over in the comments. Can I do that?
Yeah, I did. So like when Queen of Swords and Silence came out years ago, I actually on the back of my bookmarks I had the QR code that people could just go and buy the book from the back of the bookmark.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And so here I'm going to pop the link in the hold on just one second. I'm going to pop the link in the chat. I hope I'm a wrench. I think I am.
I think, but I don't remember.
Let's see.
Make sure you test it. Make sure you test it so it doesn't accidentally take you to buy a bag of Fritos. Okay,
it didn't. This is the correct one. Okay, so that little Kindlepreneur code, you can generate a QR code, but you can put something in the center. So for me, for my little swoon squad, actually, wait, hold on. I think I have one in the book.
Swoon
wait, oh, I do.
That's so cute.
Okay. Okay. So see, if you look right here, other way. If you look right here, here's a QR code. You got it? Did you see it? Oh, sorry. Hold on. See that little tiny book cover in the middle?
Oh,
And
yes.
So that's how you get all the resources for this book. You just QR code that bad guy.
That's amazing.
It is. I love Kindlepreneur guy. He is always giving us free tools and goodies, and I love him. I love that one. So my one for the Swoon Squad, which is my little romance newsletter, has a little heart in the middle. And the one for the resources. The other thing that's great is that when you have those QR codes with the book cover in the middle, then you know what the QR code's for, and you don't have to be like, what was this one? So that's helpful.
Nice. I like it.
That is helpful.
Thanks.
Oh my goodness, we're at the top of the hour already.
Oh,
That was exciting.
I want you to know these always go by really quick. I'm always concerned. Like sometimes when we're like, I didn't read very much of the book, or this wasn't, I don't know what to say. Anyways, we're not going to have enough to talk about, and then we always.
Of course, that's not true with this book, right? You totally read it.
I read all of it. Yeah.
I know you did because
We took notes.
I know I saw your notes, and I'm literally going to come back after the stream and screenshot you holding up your Kindle with all those notes because that's like the most awesome thing I've seen all day. I love it.
Hey,
Love it, love it.
I do too. I love
Nikki,
that.
we've been sounding glitchy for different parts of the hour. It's not your computer. It's the weather, the internet, the trolls, the everything.
State of the world.
Yeah.
All right. So since we are at the top of the hour, we should say our goodbyes so these people can go off and enjoy their days. Lisa, we'll start with you.
Aw, thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for reviewing my book. I am so flattered and I'm so honored, and I'm also just so grateful that you guys actually got something out of it. So I'm like, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. So anyway, thanks so much for having me. I'm Lisa Daly. I write romantic comedies and nonfiction, in case you're looking. And thank you very much for reviewing my book today and for buying it, for those of you guys who did that, and just for having me on. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And Skynet CJ?
Hello, my name is Skynet CJ. No, my name is CJ Bloyer. I'm a writer of Thing. I think my internet's getting better, not so Skynet-y. You can catch me here every month. I'm over on the Sharmover's channel every Friday at 7 p.m. Central. We have links down below.
Yes. There are links for all these
There are
lovely
links down
ladies
below.
in the description. And a link for the book in case you'd like to pick it up. And Carrow?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Carrow. I am an urban fantasy and a romance writer. All the books I wrote are over there on the wall. I came here to review this book. I reviewed this book. It's a great book. You guys should get it.
All right, fantastic. And my name's Tamara Woods. I'm a cozy mystery author. This is my channel where I talk about books and writing. So let me give you a quick rundown. Bailed Out. Book 2 of the Beachbound Cozy Mystery series is it. I had issues with the editor. I have found an editor. So everything's coming up Millhouse, and it will be launching on March 15th. So you should pre-order it because then Amazon will think, oh, people want to read it, and they'll like kick it out to more people. So if you're interested, pre-order. Also, one way to support me and all of my endeavors is to join my Patreon. Last month we had on our Discord server, we watched the first episode of Murder, She Wrote, which was awesome. I had so much fun with that. And this month, because it's February, I want to do like a murder mystery that has like a little romantic element to it. So the people who are in my Patreon and are enjoying the Discord can, of course, suggest things, and then we can watch a cool thing together. On Patreon is also where I kind of my madcap ideas of things that I'm going to do. That's where I talk about it the most. So if you're interested in the ridiculousness that I get up to, Patreon, that's where you should be. Also, do you want to know if I can write, but you don't want to invest money in my work yet? I have a newsletter, and you will get a free copy of Midnight Murder if you sign up. And if you want to buy me some coffee, you can give me donations on Ko-fi. That link is in there too. And, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff down there in my particulates. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. This has been an amazing time. And this was the first time that we had the author with us, which that was very cool. Probably won't do that again unless one of us writes a nonfiction book. Just because, what if we didn't like it?
Right?
What if we didn't like it and we have like the author there? Oh, that is
awkward. You got to do your duty, though. That's why in the beginning I was like, let me have it. Like, I'm okay with that. Also, because of the magic of indie publishing, if there was something we were like, oh my God, chapter 17 was the worst. Why didn't she blah, blah, blah? I could have fixed that this afternoon and back up today. So yeah, do it. Do your worst, people. So yeah, I know. I'm delighted.
We're
Sorry.
glad that we liked it.
Me too.
Yeah, right? Whew. All right. We liked the book. It wasn't terrible. We actually think it's a good resource, so you should check it out. I will be announcing the book of the month for February this weekend, so keep your eyes peeled. And if you'd like to be a part of figuring out what books we're going to be reading, join the Goodreads group. That link is also in the description. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Whether you're watching it now or you're watching it the replay, you're all amazing. Happy writing, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.